I had to use a tiny little drip of blue Loctite inside each one of these. The reason being is the hole where the primer fire would go through on these would be just a hair, it's a hair bigger in diameter than the threaded part of the Orlando axles where the nut goes on. So there's a tiny little speck of super glue holding the back side of these to the wheel nut, and then a tiny drip of blue Loctite on the thread, on the end of the screw. So it should stay on pretty good. I'm not trying to take them off. So there's four of those. The two on the back are thinner than the two on the front, and when I say thinner, I mean the deepness of them. These actually don't go in towards the front of the wheel as far as the front ones. The front ones almost touch the face of the wheel on the back side. Go ahead and take the body off. Loads of brass. Loads. Sorry, I was off camera. So these are pipe, I guess, nipple fittings. I don't know what they're really called. It's these. Cut and shaved down till they fit inside the wheels. Made that video showing how I was doing that. These are couplers from the hardware store. All this came from the hardware store with the exception of those. Those came from what's in my pocket. On the front, and this is just brass sheet, the links are tubing over the Orlando links. The Orlando links are still inside these, all four of them, the X01 links. The sheeting on the servo and underneath the servo are just flat sheet that I got from Hobby Lobby. It's just flat sheet cut, little pieces bent to shape to get around the servo as much as possible without, being a problem. And they do not interfere at all anywhere. So even the front does not cause a problem. It's not going to run at full droop, so I'm not worried about it if it touches too much. That's that right there. It is touching, but it's not gonna cause an issue climbing around. Doesn't get in a bind anywhere. I'll use my file as a pointer. The hub pieces that I made yesterday, right here, are brass tubing. I think I was thinking about this, and I was trying to remember where I got this. I want to say it was off of an ink pen, and I kept it simply because it was brass. It had a plastic laminated paper design thing on it, and I took that off. The tires aren't really causing a problem coming off of the wheels like I thought they were going to. The inside of this one pops off worse than the rest of them, which it really isn't bad. And because of the angle that I have the axle, it is angled. makes the steering and that's going to be an issue. I'm going to have to find some kind of a glue to glue this inside wall. Hopefully that would stop it from doing that. Other than that, I know this one wheel nut out here is a little crooked, but I'm not worried about that. It can wobble. But those are cut to fit around the steering, and it worked out great. This is a piece of tubing, and when I say tubing, I mean a piece of a 22 nail gun blank that had been emptied, discharged and emptied, and I just cut it down. It fits perfectly over the top of the servo horn up here. Now I cut a little, after I soldered it to a piece of the flat sheeting, then I shaped it into the perfect circle that you see. Not perfect, but perfect enough for me. And then I made this piece that goes on the servo, the actual servo horn that goes on there. The screw in here is there, and this is literally basically to protect this, because the way that I've got this done, the servo horn sticks out further than my steering links, and just in case I bash this into any rocks or anything, this is going to protect that screw, which will make it easier to take off, obviously. And the only way to get it off is to take the ball head out. Got to take the ball head out to get this off, to get the servo horn off. Kind of, I don't know, ingenuitive, I guess. I could drill a hole in it, but I don't need a hole in it. I'm not trying to access that screw and take it off right now. I can take the ball screw out, no problem. So the only thing I can think to make more brass would be to go around these and the C-hubs, just the round part. But I really don't see a point in it, considering how heavy this thing is in the front now. It's definitely heavy, and trying to do a balance test on it, I mean, it's obvious. Sorry about that. The front is the only way to pick it up in the front and leave the back down is right here. It's beyond heavy in the front, but now that I've got these in the back with the inside weights that are inside the wheels, these right here, the lifting from the dead center, it's all the weight is in the front. Bringing it up here, this is the most balanced spot, but it won't pick it up there because of the links. There's nothing to grab hold of. So the weight balance, I would say, is going to be right here in between the upper link mount screw right here. I'm showing my finger instead of this. The weight balance is going to be right here in between these two screws. But there's, like I said, there's no way to lift it from right there to show the balance. But I'm saying it's going to be right there. That seems like the most weight. So, and I'm still running the original X01, Orlando Hunter X01 plastic drive shafts. So I'm going to have to upgrade these soon, eventually, because I know the weight on this is going to snap those little pins, little plastic U-joint, ball joints, whatever you want. Yeah, U-joints. And I'll probably have to put an aluminum transmission cover and whatnot, motor thing in it, so it'll help cool it, because with this weight on it, it's gonna run hotter. It's not brushed, or brushless, it's brushed. But yeah, I think with the body on it and those wheel nut weights, it looks pretty cool. Looks pretty cool. I can dig it. I might strip the body and repaint it. I don't know. Might just touch it up again. I've touched it up once or twice, and this shade of brown right here is different than the rest, and it just looks tacky to me. There's like the same shade of this that I mixed up myself is down here on both sides, but you can see the yellow plastic from the original toy that it came from showing through. There's also this color right here I touched up inside where I cut the roof out. Yeah, thought about making a front cap for it, like old 32 Ford like it's supposed to have, but I'm just gonna leave it the way it is. Bash it around, take it easy on it, because I know with the amount of weight on it, I take it outside and I start going through the rocks, it's gonna snap these drive shafts eventually, and I just don't want to fool with getting more metal ones and having to replace the hollow pins with solid pins. And yeah, it's a process. I enjoy it very much. I'm getting lots of little brass pieces to use on other projects, you know. I'm cutting this stuff up, making my own parts. It's fun. It's fun. It's nice to scratch your face, rub your face, and you got brass metal shavings on you and you don't realize it. It makes you itch. It's fun. Yep. It's messy. Positive note though, when it comes to mixing epoxy with stuff, you can add weight, add strength to two-part epoxies like the Bob Smith Industries, with things like brass metal shavings, wood dust, sawdust. So, you know, doing these little projects, I'm getting some stuff to add to the epoxies I used on my little boat that I'm making. I used wood dust in this, and you can't even really tell it. So I gotta get started on getting more stuff for these and finishing them. So other than that, I haven't really done anything. I'm just, you know, family stuff, and haven't messed with this one anymore. I'm getting limited on my brass, so I'm gonna have to get more soon. I took apart my rear axle that I was working on for the pink truck. I took it apart to get the hub out, the little hub nut right there, so I could, or hub screw. I took that out so I could test an idea with these. I tried to put solder in the hole in there and use them as just screws, and right away it pulled all the solder out of it. It didn't. I had them things, they were damn near glowing red. Thought the solder would stick and thought it would work, but when I went to screw it on there, it just pulled them right out, pulled the solder out. And I had to scrape the rest out the last little bit, but I said, you know what, I'm done with this. Do a little dab of super glue on the nut, stick it on there, let it dry to the nut, and then put some Loctite in there. Tiny little bit, ain't gonna hurt it none. So, fun. When I bought this from Shapeways, I had messaged Gammy and let him know I had ordered mine. He told me it's fun. I completely agree. This thing is a blast. Whether you're going slow with it or whether you're and no weight on it, or slow with a lot of weight, or no weight and going fast, it's fun. So, and I have definitely added some weight to it. I was thinking if I change this to metal axles, to the aluminum axles, cover controller, like on my Bronco, the Orlando, there's no way to put the amount of brass on these axles the way that I have this one, because you can take the hubs off of the plastic ones, but you can't take those hubs off right there. You can see I've got brass washers in it. I'm going to add a tiny bit of weight in there, but it's not much. But yeah, there's no way to get the brass pieces on these axles the way I have that. There's no way to take the hubs off to slip the brass over it. So I kind of like the plastic axles as far as being able to take them apart, and as far as wheel nuts, wheel weights I should say. I did put 2 washers on the insides of my tow truck front tires, simply because this little car here, this is funny. Tow truck, normal ride height. We'll start with the back of this car. I like doing this test. You see it just barely lifts the front. You turn this little car around. The body slipped off. You turn this little car around. Let's go up just a little bit. Get this whole setup on camera. And drop this front end for this car. I'm sitting on something. Sitting on my tweezers. On this tow boom. Watch the front of the truck. There is so much weight on the front of that car for as small as it is. It's crazy. It does my incline board pretty good. Sandpaper on a little piece of wood. My son gave me this piece of wood. It was actually a decent piece of wood. I told him I wanted a funky old piece of wood for my birthday a few years ago, and he just kind of looked at me puzzled at first. And I told him I wanted to make a nice shiny model display. So he went and found me this piece of wood, and it's not the greatest wood, but I told him I wanted a funky piece of wood, so he brought me this piece of wood, and well, it had a nice shiny coating on it. I made it really pretty, considering. Had a little model display, and then the clear paint that I put on it, a tire for a model was laying on it and left a circle in the clear, so I just said forget it. But yep, it climbs over everything on my desk now. It'll go over every bit of it. Barely gets like stuck in the wires and stuff. It just kind of tromps through it. So still looking at it here and there, trying to figure out where else